Hey, hello! Welcome to the show. It's John Park's Workshop. I'm back, and I am happy to be here, and I'm happy to have you here. So thank you so much for stopping by today. We have a show. Last week was a lot of fun. It was the Friday show of CircuitPython Day. Excuse me here while I try to clean my glasses off. I should have done that before while the music was playing, but there you go. And we are at a normal time, so there have been a couple questions about this since there are some shows that are changing times. We're going to be changing the time of the show and tell. Last week was the last, or the week before was the last time we did the Wednesday. Was it last week? Yeah, Wednesday show and tell in the evening. That's going to go to a different day, possibly different time. We're not sure exactly what yet. And we made a change to one of our internal meetings, online meeting that we do, which means that I had to move my product pick show on Tuesdays. So Tuesdays went an hour earlier. This show stays the same. Make sense? Noon or 3 product pick, and then 1 or 4, same as usual for this show, workshop. So you're here, so you know that, but I just want to let you know. And I put that in the blog post, and I'll still mention the new time a few more times about the product pick shows people know. So what are we doing here today? I've got a show. I've got a thank you for people for stopping by over in our chats. We have a YouTube chat, so go there if you're on YouTube and that's convenient for you. If you are somewhere else or you just like it, go to our Discord. This is the Discord right here. I have a button that takes us right to the Discord. And so I want to say hello to C. Grover and Thin Man. Good to see you. Andy Calloway, hello. And Paul Cutler and Dan Caliano, hello. So what I've got today, I've got a few things to mention, some projects that are looking really cool that I wanted to talk about. Actually, one of them is Dan Caliano. I'm gonna, if I remember, I'm gonna see if I can find a spot where you've got info about this. I think I've seen it on Blue Sky, but Dan is working on a cartridge reader for the Fruit Jam. And suddenly I'm blanking. Is it Coleco? Is it Coleco cartridges? ColecoVision? Some cartridge reader on Fruit Jam. Sorry, I'm blanking on it, but hopefully you'll write that up if you haven't already, and we'll talk about it some more. But I saw your name there and it reminded me. Cartridge reader, Fruit Jam, very cool. So if you want to mention it in the chat, if you've got a link, I can show that. I've got a coupon code for you so you can save some money in the shop. I've got a recap of the product pick of the week. I have a CircuitPython Parsec. I have a confirmation from Dan. Yes, ColecoVision. Thank you. I have a Learn Guide recap, a full demo of the final build on my Space Invaders Fruit Jam port, and I think a couple of other things here and there that we'll talk about. Our good friend Toddbot couldn't be here today to watch. He's usually in the comments. He had to go do something, but he told me about a thing he's working on that I want to show off because I think it's super awesome. So hold me to that. Do not let me forget that. I'm going to open my notes here so that have it right in my face. So, as I mentioned, I've got a coupon code for you. If you want to save some money in the Adafruit shop, just go to adafruit.com, because that's how you walk right into our store. And then on the way out, if you find some things you like and you throw them in your cart and you walk up to the cash register and you're about to go out and they say, do you have any coupons? And you say, yes, I have surfboards. Surfboards is the coupon code for the week, actually for the day and the week, I guess. It's good until midnight tonight, East Coast time. And that will save you 10%. So go there, look around, see what's in the shop that looks interesting and new. We've got at least one new thing in here that looks interesting to me, and it is, let me scroll it up and out of the way. It is this stereo I2S 3-watt amplifier breakout. That's a cute little new stereo. I think we've had a mono version of this, as well as this has been integrated, I think, in our Pi bonnet. But the first time I think we've had this cool little 3-watt, so that can power some speakers, I think 4 ohm and 8 ohm. That is new. That is in the store. That should be in stock, fully in stock. No qualifications there, and it's got full-blown stereo I2S DAC and amplifier. So that's a new thing. It's $9.95, but you can save 10% off if you use the coupon code Surfboard. Today we also have a little breakout for this I2S DAC with a 12-volt booster. It's another cool little breakout board that has just come out, and that has Stemma QT on it. And then there were the cool WWA NeoPixel sticks that I've been playing around with. So those are just some new things. Of course, anything you can go to the shop and look at products. Hey, view all. All right, go through there. Pretty much everything is available with the discount, other than gift certificates, subscriptions, or software, and some Raspberry Pi boards and add-ons. So there are just a few restrictions. I'm not sure if we have that listed anywhere, what the restrictions are, but if you go and look in some of our shipping and returns, freebies, FAQs, this little section down here on the site, you'll probably find that. Speaking of freebies, if you want to save some money, or rather get some stuff for free, if you're spending a lot, if you're spending $99 or more, you can get the free coaster, the free Adafruit coaster. If you spend $149 or more, you'll get the free coaster, plus you will get a KB2040 board, those stack. And then if you go for the $199 or more, you're going to get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States, as well as the KB2040 and the coaster. So those are all freebies that you can grab if you want, and you can still use the coupon code. I think, because I keep saying that and no one has told me I'm wrong, and I haven't tried it. So there you go. Right, next up, let's talk about the product pick of the week. So as I said, that show is now moved up to an hour up earlier to 3 p.m. on the East Coast and 12 noon on the West Coast. You can figure out your other time zones from there. And this week it was this cool little multi-use board. It's a proximity sensor, it's a lux light sensor, and a color sensor. Runs over I2C. And this is a little recap. It is the APDS 9999 proximity light and color sensor. Have it plugged in via Stemma QT cable to the I2C bus of a little cutie pie, reading the red, green, blue, IR, lux, and proximity, and printing all of those out. Real close up, and it's going to bring the lux up there to around 10,000. And then as I move that away, it gets darker and darker. Using a little formula to just give me color temperature, change the color temperature as the proximity increases. So you'll notice as my finger gets in front of the light there, it goes from cool to warm to amber lighting. You can just see that kind of reflected off of my finger and the little desk mat there. I can also do it with the light itself. So as that comes closer, it's just going to turn warm. It is the APDS 9999 proximity light and color sensor. Yeah, how about that? That was all muted. Sorry about that. Thank you for the people who just beeped me. So, Dan, thank you for sharing this. I'm rewinding to right before I was muting myself. This is shared over on the Discord if you want to check out the link to this, but this is from Dan's Blue Sky account, and this is ColecoJam, which allows you to emulate ColecoVision on the Fruit Jam, as well as load up your games right off of a cartridge. So it includes a cartridge reader for the Fruit Jam, and Frank Hodemakers is adding this to the Pico, or has added this to the Pico bootloader, so you'll be able to put Pico bootloader on your Fruit Jam and then launch ColecoVision along with others. So excellent work, everyone. Thanks for adding to the retro gaming fun with all of that. Appreciate it. Let's go check those out. I will try that out and maybe demo that on the show. I never had a ColecoVision. I've barely ever, if ever, played Coleco, so I should use this as an opportunity to bone up on it. Okay, so next up, let's get ready for a little CircuitPython Parsec.
CircuitPython Parsec.
All right, let me bring my code view in here, and guess what? I've switched. I'm back to Sublime Text. I had too many problems with Zed, so I'm back to Sublime Text. But I think it's better than ever, or at least I'm using it better. I think I solved the issues I was having before. So for the CircuitPython Parsec today, I want to talk about using the built-in IR infrared reader or decoder on the Fruit Jam. So Fruit Jam right here, right next to the green power light, there's a little hole, and on the silk screen, you probably can't see it there, on the silk screen it says IR in. And so there's a little receiver there. It's partly covered just because I have the lid on right now with this board. But that's a little standard IR receiver, and inside of CircuitPython we can use our Adafruit IR remote generic decode library along with Pulse.io to read and interpret IR pulses coming from your standard infrared remotes. Could be TV remotes, could be these little generic remotes that you get with LED products. So the way I'm doing this inside of CircuitPython is I'm importing Pulse.io, which allows us to read pulses, and I'm importing Adafruit IR remote, which helps us with the decoding. Then I'm setting the IR pin to IR pin equals board.ir. So since we imported the board directory up here, I didn't mention that, we have board.ir. We don't have to know a pin number. It's just easy to remember. It's board.ir. Then I'm creating the pulse in object with Pulse.io on that IR pin. And I'm creating the decoder as the Adafruit IR remote with generic decoder. I'm also setting up some NeoPixel stuff here. And then I have this little list of learned codes. So I just pressed the buttons on these, saw what each button did, wrote them down, and added a little sort of dictionary here of them for two different remotes. So I also have some behaviors of the LEDs that are keyed to those button names that'll cause the LEDs to light up a certain color. In the main loop here, you can see pulses equals decoder read pulses. So that's going to read the pulses, and then we can print those. Code equals decoder decode bits pulses. That's the decoding those bits. And then I'm printing the pulses. I'm printing the length of the pulses just because it's kind of interesting. Different remote protocols use different ones. And then if the code is in my little list, I'm going to print the button name, and I'm going to light up the NeoPixels if it's one of the ones in this list right here of colors. Otherwise, I'll say it's an unknown button, but I'm still printing what was decoded so that I can then use that as a learned thing. We also have a little print statement here for an NEC repeat and failed to decode. You can see right now I've failed to decode probably just because of some IR bouncing around in the room, and it at some point thought, are you trying to send me a remote? So let's do a little demo. You can see here with this remote, if I press the very first button here, it just lists all the pulses. Then it says received pulses, 67. The decoded bits are 0, 255, 58, 197. On the NEC standard, I wrote it down up here, this is the address, the bitwise inverse of the address, which is used for sort of error correction, the command, and the bitwise inverse of the command. And if I then look here, it says what's the button name. Since it's one I've learned before, it's the 44 key remote's brighter. If I go the next button down, dimmer. I can do play, I can do power, and then these ones I have keyed to colors. So I press this one, it says that's the 44 key red, and I'm going to light up the NeoPixels red. This is the green, this is the blue, this is the white. If I point this up at the camera, you'll see there's the little sort of purpley blinking that's going on that is being decoded over here. Here's a completely different remote. This one's a Sony. If I press, let's say, the play button, you'll see, okay, these are much shorter, receives 27 pulses instead of the 67, and it decodes it more simply. It doesn't have the address, just the operation. So I can press these and change the color on a couple of them as well, or just read what button has gotten pressed. And so that is how you can use the IR detector, or IR, what is this? This is how you can use the IR receiver on the Fruit Jam inside of CircuitPython. And that's the CircuitPython Parsec. All right, you see, I get myself in trouble when I hit certain buttons and not other ones, which is why I came in muted before. I have a button I'm supposed to press when I'm talking, which sets to this camera and returns this microphone to operation. So I need to follow my own. That's on this Stream Deck thing that I have set up here. I think I've shown this, but I love this thing. Let me show you my down cam real quick. It is this guy up here. So if I press this, and now I'm not muted. And there's the song. So easy for me to get in trouble if I don't press the right button on there. One of my ideas with the Fruit Jam, I don't think I've seen many projects using the IR receiver, but I think it would be kind of cool, since we can do HDMI stuff, to use it as like a channel changer, an effect changer for video synth, that sort of thing. So the caveat I will give is there was an early revision of Fruit Jam, I believe, on the silk screen. If you're near the speaker port on the Fruit Jam, if it says D as in Delta, you're good. But I believe there was an earlier B as in Bravo, which has I think, too small of a resistor or something, and so there are issues with IR. You'll find some threads on the forum about it. If you're feeling industrious, you can solder on right on top of the existing resistor a new bigger one, or I think you can write to support at adafruit.com and get a replacement or a refund if you really want to do this and it's not working. Just a warning, you may, if you have a really early one, like the first batch of probably 50 or 100, there's a chance your IR won't work, so maybe check it out. And I'll put this code up in the post for this up on my GitHub repo for Parsec, and you'll have that demo code if you want it. Should be able to use any of the generic CircuitPython IR detection code samples, but just change your pin to be board.ir, and that'll do it. Oh, Paul Cutler says, yeah, I have a early rev Fruit Jam with the broken IR, but the AdaBox one is good. Okay, yeah, so I think what we sell off, like maybe 50 or 100 of them before the AdaBox came with it. It might have been more than that, I don't know. But yeah, there was a batch there, which is actually one of the reasons that we've done that, I think, in the past sometimes, is put out, even though a board is kind of launching with an AdaBox, we'll put out a few batches of them so that people can get their hands on them and help surface any issues like that. So, if that burned you and you really want the IR on it, I'm sure that you can get it replaced by writing support@adafruit.com or post an issue about it in the forums. Okay, let's move on from that. Turn this off and unplug it. And since this is mildly reasonable segue here to a CircuitPython and Adafruit or non-Adafruit board related topic, I'm going to show you something. I just got to open up a browser window with, if you can find it, CircuitPython board viewer. Let me find that, hold on. Here it is. Okay, let me go over to browser view. And I'm going to paste this in the chat right now in case you're eager to check it out or play along. And I'll paste that over in the YouTube chat as well. Hi, YouTube. I haven't been over here since people joined in. Hey, Dave Odessa's there. Tyeth, hello. Burton R. And yes, I had lost sound, but we're back. Okay, so this is, let's talk about this right here. This is really cool. This is a new little, let's see if I can expand the size of this to make it easier to see. A new little friend for you right there from Todd Kurt, ToddBot. This is on his GitHub IO. It's a web page that you can use to find out some information about your CircuitPython boards. So it's called CircuitPython Board Viewer. It allows you to look up the pin names, what the pins on the chip are usable as board pin names inside of CircuitPython. Things like the board SPI and UART and I2C, what board display pins and dimensions are on there. So here you can see, let's type in a new thing. Let's put in QT. You can see as I start typing, it autofills in the possible boards, and this is all going up to CircuitPython.org and grabbing information from there. So if I do, how about a QT RP2040? So right away here you can see there's a little picture that's grabbed from, scraped from that page. If you click it or this link, that'll take you to the CircuitPython.org page for that board, so you can go grab your drivers for it if you need, or your build for that. And then you can see here board objects. So I2C is available, and it's available as I2C on pins SCL and SDA. There is also below that a stemma I2C. So this is really helpful because sometimes you're not sure, do I have two buses I can use? Which one is the non-stemma QT one? So this one says, yeah, you're going to use that as stemma I2C, and then it's got the pin numbers on there. SPI is available, UART, there's no display on this board. And then here's, what are these pins? Like, what are the names of the pins? So you've got A0, also named D0, A1, 2, 3, those are all similar to that. Then there's the SDA and SCL pin. Now, sometimes I use those and I'm not intending to use those as data and clock. I'm using them for I/O. It looks a little weird in my code to call those SDA and SCL. Well, those are their real other names that aren't even on the Silk screen, D4, D5, so it's pretty useful. There's also a compare, which is pretty cool. So let me show you a case where I really was wondering about this and used this tool. Todd just wrote this a couple days ago, but if I do a feather RP2040, and then I'm going to do compare with another board. Just click this link right here. And then I'll do feather RP2350. So you get this little two-column comparison, which is neat. You get the picture of the two. You can see these are actually really similar as far as I2C, UART, SPI availability. Pin names looking good, looking similar. However, I was wondering on the, I'm very familiar with, used to using the Feather RP2040 a lot, and one thing I like to do is use the little boot button as a user button, so I don't have to wire anything up to it, but I can have a little user input. Well, I was wondering, wait, does the RP2350 have that? And if so, what pin is it on? Look in here, and guess what? It does not. So if you look on the left here on the RP2040, you can see, okay, GPIO 4 is wired up and available as the button and the boot. Over here on the right, it says it's not. Now, this is all, take it with a grain of salt, because it's grabbing that information, which has to be accurate over at circuitpython.org. Could be that there's a mismatch between those things. So someone tell me in the chat, like, oh, actually, there is a pin that you can use for that. It's just not listed in the database that we're grabbing from here. So really neat. Shows you also how a lot of these extra pins, I think, what do we have, a HSTX, gives us a whole bunch of these extra pins here on the RP2040, and you can get all their names right there. So pretty cool board viewer. The display thing is also neat. So if we do, like, let's say, just type in TFT, I'll find out, okay, how about a ESP32 S3 reverse TFT? I'll exit the compare. Just go to that one board. And this says, okay, you've got a regular display on there, which I don't know what the alternates are. I'm not sure if e-ink versus regular, or if anyone knows that, I'm not sure what it's talking about there. And then the pixel size. So this is a 240 by 135 16-bit display. So pretty cool. This is all info I think you could get here, maybe starting here, and then normally I would find the learn guide for it and go to the pinout diagram, which I think was probably Todd's experience and what caused him to want to write this up. So thanks for creating that, Todd. That's super, super useful. All right. Next up, let's talk about I think I'll do a little demo. Let me go over to the bench cam here, and hopefully all my cameras are still, yay, that camera's still up and running. Let me head over here, and I'm going to show you a demo of the finished Space Invaders port over to the Fruit Jam, RP2350 Fruit Jam. And I'm going to turn off that exhaust fan there. As you can imagine, it's pretty hot here in Southern California, so we're doing everything we can. Sorry, I have a couple projects going on that are right here. Let me move some things. So here you can see, first of all, let me just unplug everything. I showed some of the process of getting here, but this is sort of the finished thing. I'm going to just goose my exposure here for a second. So this is a new old stock control panel overlay that I bought online for $35, which is a great price for a new old stock one that's printed on metal, but you can spend less than that and get a modern replacement that's a vinyl adhesive back, like usually 3M adhesive back laminated vinyl, which is great. Stick that to your 3D printed case, which you can see there. Let me make this just one more stop brighter. So you can see the seams here. I dovetailed, because I don't have a 3D printer big enough to create that, with a separate base, and this is on top of a full surface here, so if you are doing the vinyl, you're not going to have to worry about stability there. I've got my arcade buttons for the controls on the case there. This one acts like the coin. I didn't bother with an actual coin box on there. And then on the back here is the Fruit Jam. So let's zoom in here. So you can see I've got SD card access right here, the USB-C power, HDMI output, and audio output. One of the reasons I made this opening so big is so that I can reach in and press the Fruit Jam buttons. I didn't want to try to make those accessible through some linkage system or something. There's just not big holes in the bottom. There's not a great way to get to those. So I just left that open enough. Those are not something you're going to use very often, because for most setups you will find the right monitor orientation and mirroring and leave it alone. But I did want to make those easy to get to. Since I'm using you can see some of these colored wires here. Let me grab a light here. So you can see there is my little wiring harness for the buttons that I made, and that thing is in the header, dual row headers. I think it's what, 2x10 headers on the Fruit Jam. That's in the way of the power switch. So again, I didn't want to design around that, so I'm just plugging it in to power to turn it on, which is fine. It's the same thing as flipping that power switch, to be honest. So that's it, how it's set up. Let me zoom back out here a little bit, and I'll plug this up in a second. I just want to grab my Discord so I can make sure if anyone has any... Oh, you think the down shooter is frozen? Oh, it sure has. How about that? Okay, that's a bummer. I was looking at a monitor that's a direct feed and not the... Sorry about that. Yeah, I was looking at a monitor that shows me the direct feed from that camera, not going through Wirecast. I'm gonna... If you'll bear with me, I'm actually going to stop the broadcast, quit Wirecast, restart it, restart the broadcast. Hopefully that's all fast enough that it just repicks it up on the streaming and doesn't think it's a new stream. So here we go. All right. All right. And I'm back up and running. I'm just going to check the streams. Yeah, looks like YouTube survived it. Looks like Facebook did not, but that may just be because Restream.io is just catching up. Yeah, that could be toast for Facebook. Let me refresh Facebook. Doot doot. Yeah, it could be toast for that. We'll see. And I'm getting... Let's do this. Let me check my Discord. I heard a badoop. Lost sound, someone said. That could be an older... All good, said Andy Calloway, AC Grover. Good. Paul Cutler, thank you. Okay. That may have been an old message. No, okay. Mark in Ord 9237 said we lost sound. Maybe that's an old message. Maybe that's YouTube doing funny stuff, but hopefully everyone can hear me and see me now. But I think Facebook's a goner. It does not recover gracefully from the stream stopping, unfortunately, which is a little optimistic of it to think that streams don't have hiccups. Okay, so I'm gonna just run back over here. Let's do this again because I think it's cool. And I will keep an eye on that upper monitor, which shows me if you can see that or not. So, okay. So here it is. This is my Space Invaders port to Fruit Jam. So all of this is just a big control panel and case around a Fruit Jam. Fruit Jam running Space Invaders as a port of the original Intel 8080 architecture and the original ROMs, and then using wave samples, which I'll talk about more later about why I'm doing that. Fruit Jam here, I've got the SD card available, accessible if I want to switch the ROM out, which there's a few games that'll run on this identical architecture, mostly clones of the era. USB-C for power, HDMI out, and this is my audio out here. Then I've got, since I've got that big IDC cable in the way going to all of my arcade controls and those color wires, I can't get to the on-off switch, but I'm just plugging in for power. I am able to get to the 3 buttons on the Fruit Jam, also the reset button, I suppose, if I needed that. In order to switch the monitor orientation and mirror state is what I have those for. So that's what the build looks like. Let's plug it in and check it out. I'm going to go HDMI to this little bare display that I've got. I'm going to go audio out just to a little powered speaker, which maybe has battery still. I think it does. And then I'm just running a USB-C to a wall wart that's like a 5-volt, might be a 1 amp or 2 amp, nothing powerful needed. All right, so I'm gonna zoom out just a touch more here, and that should be That should be good right there. So you can see we are upside down. So you could physically move this, but that's not too convenient if you build a little like bar top arcade out of this or something. So I can reach in and press button 2 on the fruit jam in order to, or sorry, yeah, button 2, in order to switch the orientation. So I'll go right side up, and then this is mirrored as I showed a couple of weeks ago. If we're going to do the reflective trick on a piece of mirrored glass, you'll want to flip that orientation. I put some colored gels on here, just like the original. The monitor just had gels on it, which is why credit 1 is green there. That's actually wrong. I got this set up for the mirror state, not for the non-mirror state. So that little piece should be to the left here. Credit 1 was, or however many credits, was actually in white, and the number of ships left and some other info was on the left here was in green. There is a red strip up here that you'll see. Oh, I'm gonna restart this just because I hit credit. So I'm just gonna pull my power. Since I hit the credit button, it stays on that screen, but I like seeing the attract loop when I first start it up. So let me switch the rotation again to that. Okay, so here you can see my explosion at the top there when it hits the wall. That's in the red strip, and down here is the green, which is mirrored. So I'll press my one thing is there's no sound during the attract loop. They hadn't figured that out yet, so it's nice and silent until you start. So you do have to put a coin in and hit player 1 or player 2, and now we'll hear. Turn this up to max. I'll just set this here so you can hear it. We'll wait long enough for a UFO to go by so you'll see that in red. Got it. So there you go. The one thing I have not tested, there's actually a sort of Easter egg in the original Space Invaders ROM, definitely the Taito, I think Midway. If you fire 22 shots and then your 23rd shot hits the UFO, I think the UFO gives you 300 or 500 points, which is great because kind of the key to Space Invaders is building up a lot of extra lives by it'll tell us actually at the top what the, I think it says bonus at 1,000. Flip that over again. It said it and I missed it, but yeah. So there's bonuses there, and hitting the UFO is kind of one of the best ways to do that. So I have not tested that. I should do it. You just got to count off a certain number of shots and then hit the UFO when it goes by. So 1 player 1 coin, 2 player 2 coins. Does it say on here? No. Some of the instructions are on the little control panel as well. So I mentioned this before when the camera wasn't working, but this is a metal, new old stock control panel overlay from the era, 1980 or so, that, or even earlier, that I got online pretty cheap, but you can get vinyl overlays that are 3M adhesive backed and have lamination, really nice, and you can lay that across your print. You probably want to use a non-textured print bed for that, just for even better adhesion. But that'll work. You will see these on eBay. They made a lot of them. Willis was the company who made a lot of these metal control panels that operators would put on after too many cigarette burns had gone through the originals. So they're out there. You can find those. So that's the build, and I've got Learn Guide up for it. So let's go check that out. I'll leave that running. It's quiet. Just an just an aside. Let me turn off that mic. iPhones with their magnets. Just now I stole that USB adapter off of my workbench because I set the phone down. There we go. So I'm gonna show you back to the browser. Let's see. Did we put out? Oh, look, I had an old Sparky Invaders. Oh, maybe this isn't. Is this not live? Maybe the Learn Guide's not live. I thought it had gone live. What else would I have called it? Fruit Invaders? I'd do something like that. No, I guess it's not live. I really thought it was. Okay. We'll wait for that for next week. I'll show you the Learn Guide on that. So, what have I got next? Oh, let me talk about this thing. So, you'll notice on that display there, especially if I flip that around to one of the horizontal views, that I am playing on a 16:9 monitor here, and I don't have the, I think I don't have this monitor set to not stretch, so probably in the controls here, but they're a bit of a pain to use. I could go through and find the menu and tell it not to stretch that when it's in horizontal mode, but that's always kind of an issue when you're playing games that were designed for a 4:3 ratio on a 16:9 monitor. Some monitors will allow you to say, hey, pull it in. Others, you don't have the controls for it. This one happens to work properly in vertical orientation, so I don't have to mess with the menu, which is how I intend to play it. However, when you're playing retro games, and in fact you'll see it on my little briefcase here, the interface is 16:9. But look at that game. That game is 4:3, and it puts up a little bezel on the side. It's part of Batocera, has like a bezels project, and so that's another way to solve the fact that all of these games were in a 4:3 or a 3:4 ratio. If they're shooters or Donkey Kong or Pac-Man, a lot of those are in that tate mode and rotated. So. You know me, I like to play a lot of these games on CRT because all of my CRTs, I don't have any HD 16:9 ones left. I got rid of my last one probably back in the year 2000. But since a lot of people are playing retro games on dedicated monitors, there have been quite a few projects now to build retro LCD panels, or rather take LCD panels and build them into an enclosure that gives you the nostalgic feel of a retro monitor. So here is a little roundup of a few projects that I think are interesting and worth a look if you're into that sort of thing. So this one was announced pretty recently. This is Unico, and they're calling it the Traveler. So they've got a 10-inch LCD panel, which they've put into a, this is going to be an injection molded plastic case they've built, which is pretty neat. It's a 4:3 ratio monitor. I don't think, other than turning the whole thing on its side, I don't think you can do tate mode, but that is kind of how a lot of tate mode gaming is done. This is not released yet. It's going to be a Kickstarter, and it's going to come in 3 colors. It is interesting because they have, let's see if I can go to the little virtual launcher. They have a little 3D viewer here, which is neat, which allows you to kind of look at it and admire it. It's going to have carry handles, it's going to have speaker cutouts on the sides. I don't know if it comes with speakers or not, or if you're going to add those. But and then on the back you can see here, there's a door that opens up because unlike a real CRT, there's not a whole tube and yoke and all that in there. There's just space. So that space is for you to put a console if you want. So you could stick a PlayStation in there and route the cables through the little opening there, and route the AV wiring right to this here below. And if you'll notice down here below, this is RCA cables and HDMI inputs, RCA input, I think for audio, green, blue, red for your either component or I think real RGB. And then I think you could probably just plug in a single composite into one of those, maybe the green. It has a VGA input as well, and I think it's going to run off of a 12-volt power supply external. Not sure what the USB cable here is for, maybe for updating firmware and stuff like that. But pretty interesting, and they've also got a little, you can load a game onto here, which is kind of neat, and play an emulator right on the monitor. This may end up being loud. Oh, it may not just want to load, actually. Okay, it's not loading, that's all right. Exit to that. So that one is pretty interesting, and they've got a $5 deposit you can make right now to become a founder. I think that's going to get you a little gift, like a little miniature copy of the monitor to stick on your desk. And it's, I think, going to give you a discount on the Kickstarter when that launches. I don't know what it's going to cost. I saw one figure pop up that I'm almost reluctant to say because it could be wildly off, but $279 showed up somewhere, and that just could be what someone's hoping it'll cost. The reason that's kind of plausible, I think, is this next project, which is a 10-inch display monitor for HDMI and legacy analog video. This is a post from the Adafruit blog that Anne posted recently. I think it was Anne who posted this. And there's a great video to check out as this maker builds their own version of a very similar thing in sort of a VGA monitor / Commodore inspired monitor design, all 3D printed. And there is a GitHub with lots of info on it. So this is called the Pixel Vision AV1000. And I don't know if they may have sold a couple, but it's designed as a build it yourself, which is great. I think if you add up the parts, it might be like $150 or so to build. It's about a 30-hour print time. I think the largest piece fits on a Bamboo X1 carbon, so not super huge, which is nice. This uses a 4x3 IPC panel. Am I getting that right? LCD 9.7-inch HDMI from AliExpress. It's like a $20 IPS is the word I was looking for. They're claiming all sorts of things on here. Arcade, iPad, who knows, VGA controller board. But they have figured out a... actually, I'm not sure what they're using for turning, if they are turning HDMI, or rather component over to run on that, what the driver board is. But I watched the video, sort of skipped around on the video. It looks interesting. I might give that a little more attention. That could be a fun project to build. And then this one is one that's been around a little bit longer. I think I've been seeing posts about this for a year or a little more now. This is handcrafted compact monitors by JC Ayala. This is called Retro Old Tech, or Retrold Tech, R-E-T-R-O-L-D Tech. This is a maker, I think, in Czechoslovakia, who has a couple of 4:3 ratio ones as well as a widescreen one. And they are essentially trying to look like a Sony PVM. So the design is almost a one-to-one match, other than the logos, for a Sony PVM, but again with a LCD panel inside of it. And they can come in a lot of fun colors. I think these are 3D printed and hand painted, or maybe resin printed and hand painted. And they are, since they're made kind of one at a time, they're costly, like in the, I think, $1,400 and up range, something like that. So kind of interesting that there are a few of these different options out there. I will be curious what the cost is for this Unico one. Unico are well known for building drop-in replacement LCDs for arcade cabinets. So they're very familiar already with a lot of the needs of playing retro games on an LCD that's not stretched. So 4:3 ratio, displays with good refresh rates and all those things. So definitely interesting. I don't know if any of these are intentionally doing like scanline and CRT effects to make them look a little more like a CRT, but you could certainly add in something like a RetroTink or what's the open source one, OCCD, I forget, but they're little boxes that will take in HDMI, or rather take in analog video output HDMI, but allow you to add in some effects to it along the way. So anyway, I thought those were neat options. You know me, I mostly try to just collect these wacky things that you see back here. So I'm not sure how much I need one, but I kind of want one, but we'll see. We'll see what those cost and if they're worth checking out. So those are some options there. Checking out over on our chats again. Hello to R.S. Bon. Hello from Denver. Hello. Sound is okay here, says Dave Odessa. Okay, so we recovered from that. Thank you. Okay, let me check my notes and see what else we've got going on here today. So, yeah, I'll cover the full Space Invaders build with the Learn Guide, but I want to tell you about where I'm going with that project right now. So, the Space Invaders that is in the upcoming Learn Guide, I do have that up on the Adafruit GitHub. I can show you that right now. Let's go find that. If you want to check it out, all you really need is a fruit jam and some buttons to wire to it. So let's do... Oh, I'm not signed in on this GitHub. That's probably one of the reasons it's not finding things. That's okay. Let's do github.com Adafruit. And let's do Invaders Pico. So this is adafruit.com/invaders or Adafruit/invaders Pico on our GitHub. This is, I do have a build on here, so if you just want to download the UF2 and don't want to compile it yourself, you can do that. All the code is here if you want to compile it yourself. This is, however, pretty specific to the Fruit Jam and pretty specific to RP2350 because I made it with Pico SDK. It is a port of another project that I linked here, and I was asked by Limor to try to make this run on more hardware, essentially, and make it easier to run other machines. So this is porting a very specific Intel 8080 board, and it's targeting just the Fruit Jam RP2350. So what she said was, go ahead and convert it over to Arduino. Since it's still C code, but Arduino means we can use all these libraries that we've got that don't have to be written sort of one-off for Pico SDK. Means we can also make it run on other boards, and by abstracting it out to like a hardware layer and a machine layer, we'll be able to port other stuff to it. So the first... I've gone ahead and done this with Claude Code, and the first version of it runs great. So the Space Invaders runs the same, but now it's in Arduino. And then I was able to pretty quickly convert over another Intel 8080 game that Taito made called Lunar Rescue, which runs on a different board. So it's not just a ROM swapped onto the same board, but it's a different Intel 8080 board set with 6 memory banks on it instead of 4. So there's enough differences there that it's kind of cool this project will support that. Also, this is in color. So it's actually one of the first color games not using color gels over your monitor. So what I want to do is go back over here. Hopefully that's still working. I see it looks like the camera's working. And I'm going to plug in a different Fruit Jam. I don't have this running on that piece of hardware that you see right there right now. But we'll see the Lunar Rescue in action here. So let's unplug this. Set this aside. And this is my little development one. So when I don't want that whole thing of arcade buttons on my desk, I think I've shown this before, I've got a little button board that I had made with 8 little micro switches on it, and then as you can see, this is all wired straight GPIO. I'm not having to deal with USB, which is really nice. Let's see, this is gonna plug in over here for audio, here for power. Flip this here. Still have the same button combos here for flipping and mirroring. Now in this case, these little gels don't make any sense. Actually, I think I can flip that set off to the side. This one is kind of stuck here, but oh yeah, I can fold them over to the side. Okay, I gave them tape hinges, and then forgot that I had given them tape hinges. That one I'll just pull off. So there's the game, and this probably needs to get powered back on here. I'll put the volume up on this. I don't know how well you'll hear it. So I'm gonna sharpen that focus up, and I am gonna dim this just because the colors get washed out by my exposure. It's pretty vibrant. So there you go. So this is actually, I've mapped the same buttons, so I have a coin ad. You can see it looks an awful lot like Space Invaders, made by the same company around the same time. And the neat thing about this game is that it's kind of got these 2 modes. First mode is kind of like falling and avoiding. And you can press the action button to thrust while you're on the way down to slow down your descent if you need to. And then it becomes this, whoops, I've died. Then it becomes this sort of Space Invaders shooter flying straight up. So you can see here, if I use some fuel, I can slow down. Little astronaut who needs to be saved runs up there. When you shoot, you're also thrusting, so you can just skedaddle past people and then go up to the ship and score. We have scored, yay. And then repeat. You can see you're using up available launch pads. Fuel is a finite resource as well, so I'm just about out of fuel for the descent. Oh, I shot their missile. And the really sick thing about this is that if you hit the side of the ship, the astronaut falls out. Watch. I don't crash, but the astronaut falls out. It's just outrageous. Let's try to save at least one more guy. Come on over here. I am out of fuel now for slowing the descent. Also, that big... Oh, I died. A big meteor comes shooting in from the side. So you can see it's got a lot of similarities to Space Invaders. The code is clearly different. There's some more advanced stuff going on with the color graphics. And this one is doing 9 sampled sounds, just like Space Invaders has 10 sample sounds. One sound, which is... I'll play again. It's the arpeggio that plays when you actually go up into the ship, is a square wave that's being synthesized on the chip. So the original hardware had a sophisticated little circuit, analog circuit for most of the sounds, which is why those are samples. But the arpeggio you're going to hear when I get up to the ship, that is a little square wave that's synthesized. And so that was easier to do in code rather than having to get a sample of that. So I'll leave that be. Let me turn that off. And right now these are separate loads that I've got. So I have 2 different UF2s that I put on there, and my ROMs are different ROMs on the card, different sample sets. One thing I'm thinking of doing is maybe making a little bootloader for it, so that I have, at boot time, you can pick which of the UF2s. So trying to mostly stay away from MAME territory, because that's full-blown Raspberry Pi, expensive nowadays, a bazillion different systems. So my original thought for this was really just a one-to-one arcade PCB replacement as close as possible, so that I can not pick different games on start. I may keep it that way, because I like the purity of saying, okay, I've built a cabinet just for Space Invaders, and if I really love this game, I'll build a different little cabinet for it. Along those lines, the next game I'm going to tackle is actually going to be a Zilog Z80 based game. So these 2 have been Intel 8080, but there's quite a few that are on Zilog Z80, which I think is it uses like a superset of Intel 8080 or 8080 code, but then it has its own instructions it can do. So it's going to be the first bigger challenge on this system. First up is Pac-Man, and then I think Galaga, which actually used 2 Z80s, so that could be pushing things a little, and then Donkey Kong, which is actually 3 of them. But it'll be interesting to see if and how the RP2350 deals with those. Since I'm doing Pac-Man, I love Pac-Man. I don't know about Miss Pac-Man. If I love that one almost even more. But I'll start with Pac-Man. But the key thing with Pac-Man, and I've mentioned this before, mentioned this when I showed this little My Arcade one, is it has to be a 4-way joystick, which this one is. You need a physical stop so that diagonal isn't possible. Often it's like a little restrictor plate that only allows the joystick to travel in a straight line and not into a 8-way corner. So if you can go into those 8-way diagonal positions, you will die so quickly in Pac-Man. And since I love the leaf spring switches, and that's what I'm using on my my Space Invaders main buttons now, I have been on a hunt and scored for a good price an original Pac-Man cocktail cabinet controller. You can see here, it's the Player 2 control. So if you know what a cocktail table is, it looks like a sort of more like somewhere between a coffee table and a dining table height. And you'd see these at Pizza Hut and other places. Sort of horizontally mounted CRT screen in them originally, and usually 2-player control sitting across from each other, and so it's a little more social. So the neat thing is they have these small control panels compared to that full-size Space Invader. So it's kind of a neat, I might just be building on. You can see I've got a bit of space in there, so fruit jam and some I/O. This originally had a little plexiglass or acrylic diffuser that, where did it go? It was here. So this would have been mounted this way in the cabinet, and there were 2 incandescent bulbs that mount behind those. It snapped during shipping, so I can't keep those mounted without gluing some stuff back onto them. But those would have been just to, I think, illuminate the controls for you or something like that. Player 1 had the buttons to choose Player 1 or Player 2. I think there were just 2 buttons, but graphics are nowhere near as good, and this one was a much better price. So you can see here, this is a 4-leaf spring joystick. So it's not micro switches. There's no click or anything like that. It's just leaf springs touching, and you can bend those. I have a little tool from Pinball Stuff I can use to adjust the gap, so you can have it be as sensitive as you want. But that is actually in pretty good shape. I may pull this apart and clean it up some. You can see it's got some rust on here. I'm not trying to necessarily keep the patina on this, so I may pull the CPO off, joystick out, clean this up, and repaint it. But this is maybe going to just take a little 3D printed rest of it, and then I'll have a super, super cool little Pac-Man plug into your TV kind of thing. The other thought I had with it is that could a display just be attached right here and make it a weird little cabinet. Buttons will probably go on the side just because I don't want to drill into this, and so if I need like coin button and player 1, player 2 button, this could go on one side or both. So yeah, that's part of my continued thinking about doing sort of single arcade machine ports. So it's somewhat an opposite to MAME, multi-arcade machine emulator, single arcade machine port. Uh-oh, focus has gone. All right, I'll get right here. I don't know why the technology is doing the things the technology is doing. There you go. So let's see. Anything else from the chats? Not too much. Some people talking about GTA. I have avoided looking at GTA 6 videos. I don't know if that's out there or just being talked about. But oh my gosh, I have to be right here for my camera to see me. Turn off that mic over there. I think that's going to do it then. Can I get right there? Look, there's the coupon code. I'll back off. That's going to be in focus. There's the coupon code for today. It is surfboards, and that's going to save you 10% off in the shop. So head on over to Adafruit, buy some stuff, get 10% off with that discount. And with that, I think I'm going to get out of here. So thank you all so much for stopping by. I believe we have Scott with a deep dive tomorrow. Foamy Guy back on Tuesday morning. I'll be doing my product pick of the week show on Tuesday at noon Pacific time, 3 Eastern time. I'm in the zone of focus. We will have Wednesday morning 3D Hangouts. As I've mentioned, we do not have on the schedule right now a time for show and tell. So show and tell day of the week and time is to be determined. And surely I'm missing some things. Apologies if I've forgotten any shows, but that is what I think we've got going on. I'll see you soon. For Adafruit Industries, I'm the very out of focus John Park, and this has been John Park's Workshop. I'll see you soon. Thank you.